afternoon, everyone. My name is Arjun, CEO and founder of Tendered. Today, we're going to discuss how you can use artificial intelligence to reduce emissions and increase efficiency, specifically for equipment and vehicle operations. So why vehicle and equipment operations? This actually contributes to 35% of global emissions. To give you some comparison, the United States has a target of reducing emissions by 7% each year. So 20% of 35% gets you there. That's why we built the Tendered platform. Tendered is the world's first ever AI-powered emissions monitoring platform for any kind of asset. It will manage your CO2, SO2, CO, and NO levels. And to date, we have reduced over 200,000 tons of CO2. That's equivalent to about 900,000 trees being planted. We're used by leading companies in manufacturing, construction, and logistics. And we are backed by amazing investors, including Saudi Aramco, AP Moeller Holding, and even VCs such as Peter Thiel. So why do we have an emissions problem? Well, in the operations sector, by design, it's a highly unregulated field, and equipment work for long hours without any monitoring, and there's no real data to allow for compliance. And we took it a step further, and we wanted to analyze how, for an equipment during 1 year, what percentage of the carbon footprint is attributed to operations versus manufacturing of that equipment. And we noticed that 15 kgs of CO2 on average is generated during every hour of operations, and 40% of operations are inefficient. And it's not just small-scale equipment in the construction sector. If you look at the maritime sector, a big container ship generates the same amount of CO2 as 50 million cars. And if you think about electric equipment that you think is safe and sustainable, a gas-powered plant that powers the electric grid generates the same amount of CO2 as 1.5 million cars. So regardless of industry, regardless of equipment, managing and measuring CO2 is beneficial for both the company and society. And that's why we built the Tendered platform, which works across industry and works across equipment types to measure and manage CO2 emissions. And we built our platform on the GHG protocol because we wanted to create something that's actionable for our companies and clients, but we also wanted to ensure it's adherent to global standards so it can be used for ESG reporting, either in the EU, in the US, or the Middle East. So the emission abatement program takes 6 simple steps. I'll walk you through those steps really quick. Step 1, we have 35 million hours of operational data from equipment. So we've already installed our sensors to get CO2 data, operations data, and we've trained our AI model to predict emissions in real time for any piece of equipment with a few key data points. This AI model is the brain of our platform. Next step, for every piece of equipment, our engineers take an emission fingerprint off the equipment. This captures the variability in different kinds of equipment depending on the fuel they use, the maintenance schedules they're on. So we're able to capture this unique emission fingerprint for each piece of equipment. Then we install sensors on the asset to get a 360-degree view of the equipment's operation, because every equipment is different, and this data helps companies make actionable decisions. For example, on an excavator, the key metric is the amount of earth moved. So using our vision sensors, we're able to identify how many cubic meters of earth is moved every single second and measure this and report this in real time on our dashboards. So this is for excavators, but also we do it for generators, welding machines, forklifts, different kinds of assets used in heavy industry. So now you have emission fingerprints for each piece of equipment. You have really rich operational data coming in real time from the field, and you have a core AI model that is a brain. All this data is fed into the AI model to predict emissions in real time. The way we display the data is like this on the dashboard. If you look at the left side, you'll see a forklift generating 390 kgs of CO2 and a terminal tractor generating 418 kgs of CO2. By looking at this, you don't really get any actionable data out of it. That's why if you go to the right, you see green and red lines. The green lines show emissions when the machine is actually being productive. The red shows emissions when the machine is below the productivity threshold. So the machine at the bottom is something where you need to focus on to help reduce emissions on your operations, because you want to get it as green as possible. And by getting it as green as possible, you're inadvertently also increasing efficiency. So when you take these actions, what you're doing is reducing emissions, but you're also increasing production from your assets on your operational fleet. This way, all the investments you made in capital equipment, you're actually getting more ROI, and you're better utilizing the capacity you have, and you're reducing emissions, and you're benefiting your bottom line. On our platform, we also have visibility on what is your actual production levels versus your optimal production levels. We take it a step further. We thought about data being stuck in a platform, but how do you get that data into the hands of the front line so they can make decisions based on the data? So we leverage artificial intelligence to process all this information and send insights to the frontline staff. Doesn't matter if you're a maintenance manager, an ESG manager, a project manager, we send you insights in real time so they can actually close the loop on the data that we're collecting, and then you actually get results from the data. It's not just stopping at data. You can roll this information up at a site level, at a macro level, so you can see your overall emissions, how your idling emissions versus your active emissions are trending, what are your different production metrics, what is your team doing to actually improve your overall efficiency. Everything can be captured on the platform. I'll walk you through a couple of deployments where we had some successes. So we did a project with Hyundai Engineering in the Tanajeeb gas plant, where we deployed the technology on multiple different kinds of equipment to reduce emissions by 14%. We did another project on Aramco's construction sites, where they had large articulated dump trucks and excavators and wheel loaders, and we were able to reduce total emissions by 37%. This is a really interesting project we're doing in Africa, where AP Moller and Power Gas have a joint venture, and they're manufacturing CNG, and they're transporting it using trucks to different client sites. They were able to reduce emissions not only from their road-going logistics operations, but also their fixed plant where they manufacture the gas. In Jafza, in Jebel Ali Free Zone, McDermott has a large fabrication and manufacturing facility. They have thousands of generators, compressors, welding machines, forklifts. They deployed our technology to help reduce their emissions, but also very interestingly, we did the world's first ever emission monitoring system for an offshore construction barge, which was a DB32 barge, and we also plugged into all their distribution boards to monitor how much electricity is being consumed by all the electrical equipment on the field and compare it to production levels. And lastly, but not least, we deployed on the world's largest construction project. We deployed on over 4,000 pieces of equipment with over 100 users on the platform, and we were able to reduce emissions by 26% over a period of 1.5 years. This is equal to about 58,000 tons of CO2, and to give you an equivalent, that's about removing 13,000 cars from the streets. So, we've been in this business for about 6.5 years. I think AI is rapidly evolving, and sustainability is top of mind, and we're very excited about this converging of these two worlds. We're excited by the opportunity to create meaningful impact, and if anybody want to reach out to me, feel free to email me at arjun@tender.com, or you can even WhatsApp me on my number down there. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time, and you guys can go have lunch now. Thank you so much.